All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, Bahashem, meaning in the name, Yahweh Shai, meaning He is our salvation. And that is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus a so-called black man, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? And we are at the end of this thing, okay? We are at the end of this thing. What am I referencing this to? We are at the end of this thing, referencing this man's kingdom, okay? He's getting ready to pull the plug, all right? Now, with the recent events that happened, this weekend, with the strikes on Iran nuclear facilities, now the talk of the town is sleeper cells, okay? We're going to look up that word sleeper cell and get a more in-depth definition of just what a sleeper cell is, okay? Because now you have individuals saying that sleeper cells could be released here in America now that Iran has been hit with nuclear bombs by America, okay? And let's see some of the things that these sleeper cells, quote unquote, could affect, all right? Now, I put into the Google, what are some of America's infrastructures? And this is from the AI overview, all right? It says America's infrastructure encompass a vast network of physical and virtual systems vital are necessary for daily life and the economy. Now imagine if any or all of these infrastructures are hit at once or simultaneously, okay? It could spell disaster, catastrophe for the Americans and its economy. So if they ever wanted to crash the economy, now is the perfect time, all right? Especially leading up to the 4th of July, the real fireworks, okay? We speaking about the real fireworks now, okay? Now it goes on to say, key areas include transportation. So your roads, your railroads, your railways, your aviation, your ports. Imagine if something happened where there was a derailing on the railroad that was bringing in all type of cargo, and not just for, clothing or anything else like that, but for food, okay? Imagine if something happened at the airport, okay, and you're stuck. You can't get out for some reason. Imagine if the power grids went down. All right? Just imagine any of this. All right? Because when we go look into that word sleeper cells, you're going to see that at any point in time, you can have a individual or a group amongst normal activity that you won't think could do this, but they get triggered and then they go and be used as a patsy. That's another name for a sleeper cell, a patsy. Okay? And there's no trace or no paper trail leading back to the one that caused that sleeper cell to be triggered, other than suspicion. And this is where they want you at. Suspicious of Iran having sleeper cells in America, all the while they themselves are bringing this thing to an end. This word has cut them to the core, as it speaks of in Hebrews 4:12. This word is sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting to the soul, all right? This truth has exposed them to a degree where now they have to call it quits. let's attack Iran, or let's say we attacked Iran. Let's say we hit 3 of their nuclear facilities, even if we didn't. Let's now put a hypothetical scenario where we put out in the media that there's potentially sleeper cells here in America that came here over from the last administration when the borders was open. Let's now say that because of this incident that took place, now we're more prone or subject to our infrastructure being hit and targeted by these sleeper cells. I'm going to get the video for you. Okay? You see, there's a lot that goes into this to cover up your ass, to cover up the paper trail. Okay? They got the patsy. They got the narrative that they struck Iran in the midst of trying to get a peace agreement in the Middle East. They got Iran responding back to them, seeing now they're going to attack U.S. Now they paint the narrative that now we have sleeper cells in America and we don't know how they're going to react. All right? So that's why we saying, hey, be on guard, man. And not on guard in the sense that, you know, you got to protect your assets and take money out the bank and, you know, book flights ahead of time and look for other ways to get around. But no, be on guard, meaning now is the time to be more involved in this truth. All right, because the prophecies are speaking and they're not going to lie. As it says in Habakkuk 2 and 3, the vision is for an appointed time. All right, we're coming into that appointed time that the vision is set for. All right. So let's go on and continue to read about America's infrastructure and how it's so vulnerable, okay? Which is going to give credence to what? This new system ran by AI. Alongside with AI, you're going to have what? The microchip, okay? So be on alert, all right? Keep your head on a swivel. All right? You got to keep in this truth, man. We're in a crucial point where if you're not locked in with this word, you're going to have yourself in an unfavorable position. Okay? It goes on to say, life in the economy, key areas include transportation, roads, railways, aviation, ports, energy, power grids, pipelines. So the options are endless, man. They could have individuals that's working amongst the city, and you will never know, because their specific job was to live a normal life. Okay, I got questions of individuals that live in the facility of where I live at. All right. That who knows, they could be implanted for this particular reason. All right. See, they keep to themselves. You know, they live a regular life as much as possible. Okay. Not to draw attention to themselves. And only when they're called upon do they react. All right. That's a sleeper cell in a nutshell. Okay. So just keep your head on the swivel. Let's go back to finishing up some of America's infrastructure and how it can be affected. Water and wastewater system. Imagine that. Okay. And now for the most part, you know, Jake done up their game a little bit where they don't drink water at the faucets anymore. So, you know, they don't got to worry about putting it into their body that way. But guess what? You all got to take showers. Okay. What if they put something in the water that now you breaking out with? All right. To cause panic and fear. All right. It says communications. Imagine if you wake up and you have no connection to the outside world. Your phones are down. Your internet is down. Okay? Imagine if what? The bank that you bank with is down. Now you can't get money out of the bank. Okay? Don't forget, they didn't bring forth that Fed now for nothing. All right? So it says communications, broadband, internet, and public facilities, schools, hospitals. Can you imagine if a hospital was to get attacked with some type of cyber attack where now all the systems and the machines are down? Okay? And you may say, well, they'll just use a backup generator. Not necessarily. Okay? Not necessarily. All right? Because they can hit this power grid with something similar to an EMP attack. All right? Where you can't get no type of power, even from a generator. And let's say they can use a generator for a short period of time. Then what? What happens after that generator? Let's say it runs on gas. The gas runs out. Imagine the gas. That's another thing. When you say water and pipelines, you got to remember, fuel to fuel your car, it goes through the pipes. All right? If they shut down that system, now there's no more gas. Okay? There's no more fuel to fuel your vehicle. All right? Once it runs out, that's it. You've seen the scenarios after the hurricanes, especially if you live here in Florida, where the gas, once the gas run out, it's a frenzy, man, to get those last gallons of gas. All right? And especially if you think, see, that's what's going to catch a lot of people off guard. They're not going to understand that this is the end, okay? They're going to be worried about, I got to get to work. I got to get to work. I got to get gas for my car. I got to get to the store and get something to eat. I got to stock up on this. I got to stock up on that. Not understanding that the end is near. We here. This is the end. This is it. All right? It says, in public facilities, schools, hospitals, these systems, while crucial, face significant challenges related to aging infrastructure, underfunding, and capacity issues, requiring substantial investment in modernization. It goes on to tell you some of the key infrastructure categories. Transportations. That'll be a somehow a relevant hit if they use a sleeper cell to dismantle some of the roads, especially the bridges in places like New York City. Can you imagine that? If somehow they drive because you remember in Baltimore, they drove a ship under the bridge and it snapped it in half. Well, imagine if one of the islands in New York City got broken and hit with some type of infrastructure, if it got hit with some type of infrastructure, I can't even think of the word now. Where the integrity wasn't held up anymore. All right. You might have, I got to be careful how I say the words, but you might have a pipe, BOM, kaboom, and take out a bridge or something like that. So, hey, they want the people scared and panicking and afraid. Okay. It makes better for what? Bringing in the new system. It says roads, millions of miles of highway, roads and streets, including bridges and tunnels. Can you imagine that? A tunnel being shut down or a bridge being knocked off course? Facilitate the movement of people and goods. Forget about it. You ain't going to have no food coming in. You ain't going to have no Medicaid, no Medicare, no any type of aid to bring in medicine. Railways includes passenger and freight rail networks connecting cities and regions. Imagine if some, off navigates a railroad system. Aviation, airports, and air traffic control system handle domestic and international air travel. Can you imagine in the middle of a flight, and not just a flight, but multiple flights, they hit a cyber attack and knock off course those airplanes that need to get clearance to land? Oh man, that would be a way to bring fear and panic and terrorize the people. You see? And they already got the passage that they're going to blame it on. The sleeper cells, which they're going to use to blame on Iran. The perfect scapegoat. All right? Ports, waterfront facilities handle maritime shipping and trade. You see? So if they don't have any way to clear out ports to bring in new ships, well, ships can't just come in, without clearance. Guess what? You're going to have a backup, a jam up, or whatever, man. Okay? As hard as it may be for you to believe, it's possible, man. Okay? They want it done. All right? We just going over the finer details of how they could have it come to pass. Energy, electrical grid, power generation, transmission, and distribution networks that supply electricity. Imagine not having any. This may be one of the ones that's doable. All right? It's subtle, but yet effective. No power. We did videos on Cuba having no power for days and weeks. Spain, Portugal. Imagine America not having power. Imagine they knocked out the power grid. You don't need to do anything else after that. You got no power to power the bridges, to open and close the gates, to turn the lights on the bridges and the tunnels. That would be the most reasonable one to do. Hit the power grid. That would cause more panic than anything. Because along with hitting the power grid, you don't need a cyber attack. If you can't use the internet, if you ain't got no power, you see? If the banks are closed, you can't, there's no power to, power the electricity inside of the banks. There's no power to power the ATM to get your money out. So this would be the one that is more likely to take place, a power grid, attack on the infrastructure. This will be the one that is more believable that they would do a power attack on the grid. Because once you take the power out, everything else pretty much fails. The railroad, because you can't turn the signal to turn the train, the tell the trains to turn. The what is it called? The ports. You got to have power. Everything runs on power, electricity in America. So this would be the one that I was thinking to myself, what could be the one that if they had to attack to have everything with a domino effect, it would cause everything in America to collapse, would be the power grid. Okay? Like I said earlier, you can't rely on them generators, man. Okay? If the gas runs out, they hit the power. There's no way to pump the gas, to cut the gas on, to fuel these gas. Whatever little gas you got left, it's going to be it. And we don't know how long they're going to use this attack for. Because it says there's different scenarios where after 2 to 3 weeks, society is no longer as we once knew it. Okay? Really after 2 to 3 days. All right? People start to panic. So imagine if they let the power stay off for 2 weeks. It's finished, man. Society as we know is finished. If they allow the power to stay off for 2 to 3 weeks, that's it. That's all they need. That's all they need. It's just a 2 to 3 week period of having the power off. Even if you got generators, fine, good. That ain't going to stop everybody else that don't have them. So just give them 2 to 3 weeks of no power. And you're going to see a society collapse and fall on itself. It says electrical grid, power generation, transmission, and distribution networks that supply electricity. Everything here runs on electricity. Everything. Okay? Pipelines. Everything is affected by the electricity. So if they was going to hit anything, anything, and blame it on Iran, it would more than likely be the power grid. Okay? It would be the power grid in some way, shape, or form, whether a cyber attack, whether, I don't know. But it would make more sense to hit the power grid or the electrical grid and knock everyone offline. Okay? The internet, everything. It's all, you got to have electricity, man. All right? You got to have electricity. No electricity, that eliminates 80 to 90% of the American infrastructure. All right? Which is more than enough to cause chaos. Water and wastewater, drinking system, all this falls under the electrical grid, man. Okay? How you think that water system is being ran? Through electricity. You cut that off, good luck. It says sources, treatment plants, and distribution network, wastewater system. Once again, it's being ran off electrical grid. Sewage and treatment facility, communications, broadband, and internet. Try to use the internet at your house without electricity. Good luck. How long you think you're gonna be able to use the internet on your phone without having somewhere to charge? Without no electricity? Good luck. Your phone's gonna go dead within a day. That's why they keep the lights off for 2 to 3 weeks. It's finished, man. Really, after 2 to 3 days, people are gonna start panicking. But after 2 or 3 weeks, they're gonna know ain't no hope coming, man. Okay? Broadband and internet essential for communication, information access, and economic activity. Public facilities, schools, educational institutions providing learning environments. Try to go to school without electricity. People don't know, these kids don't know what a Dewey Decimal System is. Everything is on an iPad. Try using an iPad without internet connection or electricity. You think the teachers got pencils and books and physical hard copy books on hand to teach these children? No. It's a wrap. Hit the electrical grid and everything crumbles here in America, man. Which they may very well use that scenario. As the 4th of July fireworks bringing in, electrical grid outage is coming, is going out. So public facilities, hospitals, and healthcare facilities, try running a generator at a hospital for more than 3 days with people that's hooked up to dialysis, that's hooked up to cancer treatment, that's hooked up to so many more things that need that constantly. With electrical grid outage, that generator ain't gonna last for a couple of, maybe a couple of days or so. Then after that, what? Then what? You know it ain't gonna last for a week or 2 weeks or even, dare we say, 3. You're gonna have mass casualties. Okay? Mass. By the thousands, maybe in the millions, man. It says dams and levees, public parks, hazardous waste management, solid waste management. All these are affected by the electrical power grid. You knock out that electrical power grid, everything else falls up under. So we've seen all of this. Now let's go and let's see exactly what they say a sleeper cell is. Let's give that a look at. I typed in sleeper cell, and this is what the AI overview said. A sleeper cell refers to a clandestine group of individuals or a clandestine cell system that remains inactive or dormant until activated by a specific order or trigger. Now, under the pretense of U.S. striking Iran nuclear facilities, now they can use Iran is going to retaliate by activating these sleeper cells that were dormant or just staying inactive until called upon to hit some of America's infrastructure. And if they can get to that electrical power grid and knock them out, which I believe is 3 to 5 electrical power grids in America, if they get to 2 of them or 3 or hit all 5, it's through, man. America's finished. Okay? It says that remains inactive or dormant until activated by a specific order or trigger. These cells are essentially hidden agents who have infiltrated a target area or organization, maintaining a low profile and blending into the population until activated for a specific mission. Okay? What's that specific mission? To end America as we know it and to usher in the beast system. Okay? They've waited for this very specific moment for the stage to be set to now they can be justified in bringing forth attacks throughout America's infrastructure. It says, here's a more detailed breakdown. Excuse me. Infiltration and dormancy. Sleeper cells are characterized by their ability to blend into a target environment without attracting attention, often for extended periods. So you will never know. You could be going to work and talking to a sleeper cell and have no clue. Okay? They don't stick out like a sore thumb, which allows them access to a lot of other things that would necessarily be impossible if they stuck out. Okay? Which could give them access to electrical power grids to sabotage if thus needed. All right? If thus needed, gives them access. All right? Because why? They don't stick out. All right? They go about their day. They do what's required of them. They don't do no more. They don't do no less. They blend in with their environment. You know, you may see them out and about, you know, at a grocery store or, you know, doing yard work or what have you. Okay? They're the ideal employee at work. You never think about it. All right? Next thing you know, all of a sudden, you don't see them no more. You see? Well, where's Bob at? We haven't seen him in 2 days. He didn't put in a 2-week notice or anything. The next thing you know, all hell breaks loose. Bob's nowhere to be found. The electrical grid has been sabotaged or at the least infiltrated, knocking out 60% of that region's power, or maybe even more, 100%. And Bob done slid off into the dark, man. never to be heard from again. You can't find any type of information on him. His social security number don't check out no more. His birth certificate don't check out no more. You see, all of that what you thought was Bob wasn't Bob. Okay? Or Mary. All of that what you thought of Mary wasn't Mary. All right? Bob and Mary, they were putting on the facade as being a married couple. You know? And they may have even had a child or two to make it more believable. All right? To lower your you know, don't want to say guard, but to lower your senses to seeing them, they put on a married couple. Look at them. They married, they got 2 kids. You know, they show up at the at the cookout. Meanwhile, they got all type of plans in their house. Oh yeah, this is the day we're going to go and attack the infrastructure now. We got orders. All right? We got orders from the big boss. See? You have no clue. All right? That's why we tell you to get right. Get prepared, man. This truth. See? When all hell breaks loose, we're going to be cool as a cucumber. We're going to be in the midst of everything, but we're going to understand why it's going down. All right? As it says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, let us not be as those that sleep in darkness, man. Those that are asleep in the dark, they ain't going to know, okay? They're going to think it's something really going down, man. They're going to think it's really an attack by the Iranians or whoever else they use for this very specific task. But see, we're going to know 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. This is just a device to bring in their next phase, their next stage of coming closer to the mark of the beast, this beast system. It says, sleeper cells are characterized by their ability to blend into a target environment. What is that? A target environment is whatever they've been given orders to specifically target, they blend into it. Whether it's a quote-unquote city or town or workplace or whatever. They've been given the information to blend into that target environment so you don't think nothing of them. They don't stick out, man. They do not stick out. Whether it's their race, whether it's their, beliefs or whatever. All right? They get the job done. It says, ability to blend into a target environment without attracting attention, often for extended periods. See? So you would never know until you don't know. All right? You would never know until you don't know. And by that time, well, the damage is done, man. You won't see him at work no more. You won't see him next door to you. If you live in an apartment, you ain't going to see him in that apartment no more. If they live a couple of houses down from you, you ain't going to see him living in the same neighborhood as you anymore. But you'll put two to two together. Once all hell breaks loose and you don't see them, you'll know, oh man, something was up with them. Now looking back on it, you probably could put the pieces of the puzzle together, but by that time, they done long gone. They done made their escape back to where they really, hide out is, wherever that may be at. Activation. They are not engaged in active operations until they receive instructions or a pre-arranged signal to initiate their mission. So who knows what Trump may say over the airways to give the go-ahead and green light, or who knows how they may receive their instructions to do whatever it is, okay? So we just have to, be ready, man. This truth is what's getting us ready, all right? We know that this word isn't going to be out forever, all right? The famine of the word has to hit, okay? No internet, chaos outside, famine of the word. We ain't preaching no more. It's not safe to go outside. Okay? Martial law has been enacted. Lockdowns, curfews. You can't go out past this time. If you do, you risk getting thrown in the slammer or held at one of the detention centers. It says potential, well, you see it, for T attack activity. Sleeper cells are frequently associated with T organizations, but the concept can also apply to espionage or other clandestine activities, right? So who knows? You may even have one in the administration of the current administration, man. All right. They also known as moles. All right. I forgot this show that used to come on a while back. Man, what was that show called? Where they had the guy named Red or Reddit on there. Man, it was a good show for a little bit. I was keeping up with it. I can't remember what it was, man. But it was a show where they had to try to find out who the mole was. Okay? Let me see if I can look that show up, man. I think it was Black something. The Blacklist. That was the name of that show, The Blacklist. All right. In one of the episodes, they had to find out who the mole was, man. All right. So sometimes, you got a mole in your own organization. All right. That's feeding information back to, whoever it is they need to get the information to make the move, man. All right. So, hey, however it's going to go down, we prepare, we ready through what? The word of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. So let's listen to this little clip that I seen on the news, speaking a little bit on it. Then we get a few precepts.
Officials are issuing warnings of possible retaliatory attacks right here at home. Tom Winter joins me tonight. Tom, we just got a new warning in from the State Department. What's it saying?
Right, just as we're coming on the air, the State Department warning all U.S. citizens abroad about potential threats, acknowledging the situation in Iran and the Middle East. Here at home, it's kind of a two-pronged threat, the physical and the cyber. And tonight, law enforcement agencies in multiple cities have stepped up their presence in sensitive sites like houses of worship, cultural centers, and diplomatic sites. The goal is to stop someone who is angered by the war in the Middle East from conducting an attack here. They're also looking for cyber attacks, which could temporarily take a website offline or deface a site. And then there's the concern about people backed by Iran who could already be here. A sleeper cell? Well, in the last several years, law enforcement has charged multiple people in a range of plots tied to Iran, from an attempted assassination on then President-elect Trump to a potential attack against an Iranian activist and journalist here in New York City. It's all on law enforcement's radar, Tom.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated.
So there you have it. The threat is real, man. All right. They talking about it, saying that the sleeper cells could potentially be here, ready to get the order, and some of the infrastructures that we named, the places of worship, schools, hospitals, so on and so forth, could be targeted, all right? But, hey, if they hit that electrical power grid, that's going to wipe out everything, all right? And we understand they want to bring this economy to an end to bring forth their new system, okay? And like I said, this is 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. See, we understand he's just not going to come out forthright with it and say, hey, we got to bring the new system in and we going to shut everything down. No, he has to make it believable. He goes through all of this just to make it believable. He stages an attack on a quote unquote enemy so that he can use the pretense of that enemy retaliating to him by using sleeper cells to cause the infrastructure to be compromised here in America. So that they can what? Bring in a new system. Because why? They have but a short time. See, they wanted that 2030 agenda, but they see the way the prophecy is going out. They see the way the prophecy is going out and the word being spread throughout the four corners of the earth, particularly here in America. They don't have the 2030, all right? They got to make a move fast, soon, rather than later, all right? And it's all the will of the Heavenly Father, all right? So, lest Satan, 2 Corinthians 2:11, should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We understand what this device is. You know, you want to stage some type of domestic tea attack. All right? So you can be justified in shutting this shit down and bringing in a new system. All right? And you're going to have new laws and new instructions with this new system. All right? You're going to use that domestic tea attack to, rewrite a lot of the laws, and you may even do away with the Constitution under martial law. The Constitution may never see the light of day again. No more First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 13th Amendment. No more amendments at all. Okay? They're getting rid of it. All right? You want whatever you want, get that chip. All right? That way they can just shut you down if you go offline. If you go and deviate from what they say, shut his chip off. Shut his microchip off. All right? You put stuff up online that we can deem a domestic T attack, TERR, terrorist attack, shut his chip off. All right? It's just going to be that simple, man. All right? Just that simple. But we're not ignorant of those devices, man, because we already know where he has to go at with it. All right? His time is short. He has but a short time. So he got to move, man. All right? Just imagine you knowing that you get ready to be taken out of power. But you got to sell this machizo attitude to the world that you're not getting ready to be taken out of power. All right? Because if doing so, it will compromise your plans. All right? For world domination. All right? See, you want to try to offset prophecy, speaking of these damn Edomites, but you can't, man. Habakkuk 2 and 3 makes it plain. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, in verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am proved. Verse 2, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. See, so the vision is plain, man, to the elect. All right, the elect are going to run with that. All right, and they're not going to stumble because they understand the times we living in. All right, and hey, they're not looking to build in a defiled kingdom that this place is getting ready to be demolished and ended shortly, very soon. Verse 3, for the vision, what is the vision? The prophecy is yet for an appointed time. See, everything has an appointed time. You can't rush this, all right? It's like a good home-cooked meal. You can't rush it. You got to let it cook and marinate all the way through. These prophecies, once they finish cooking, it's going to be so delightful and tasteful, man. Because we get the kingdom at the end. 2 Ezra 6 and 9. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right? This world that's being ran by Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is coming to an end. The vision is for an appointed time. But at the end, it shall speak and not lie. See? And they can't do anything about it but get on board with it. So they go what? bring it quicker and faster than what they want to bring. So this is the perfect storm to bring in their system while the fire is still heated. They got the biggest holiday, maybe second to Christmas, coming up in just 2 weekends. 4th of July, which would be not this weekend, but the next weekend, okay? Because this week and then the next week will be July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, so right around Thursday or Friday, going into the 4th of July weekend. Infrastructure compromise. Somebody hit the power grid or the electrical grid. However, at the moment you celebrating 4th of July with the fireworks going out and the fireworks shooting up in the air, the power goes out simultaneously. So you get your little bit of fun in, and then next thing you know, that's it. Your fun is coming to an abrupt stop, a halt. As it says in Job, as soon as they about to fill their belly, they vomit it all up, man. As soon as you having fun, with your family shooting up fireworks and everything else, kicking back, watching TV, all of a sudden the power goes out. And you have no clue on what to do. Because why? You haven't been keeping up with prophecy. See? You thinking it's just something that happened around the corner at one of those outage box. You thinking it's your house outage box. Then you see your neighbor, they ain't got no lights. So you saying maybe it's just something to do with the power line. Then you drive in your car and you go down the street and you see the stores lights are out. And then it start to set in, something ain't right, but you don't know what to do. You thinking that it's going to come back on in the morning time. Whenever the city workers go back to work on Monday, they're going to be able to restore the power. But it ain't nothing they can do because the electrical grid has been compromised. They can't do anything. So now day one has gone by. You still got high expectations of the power coming on. Day two has gone by. No power. So now you're starting to get worried. Day three, still no power. Now you're panicking because your food is going bad in your refrigerator. You got a little bit of food stored in your pantry, but even so, even that, expiration date has come and gone. You can't go inside the store and buy anything because the cashiers won't sell you anything and the self-checkouts don't work without power. So now what are people going to be doing? It's going to be a lawless place. They're going to have to enact martial law because people are just taking whatever they want, man. It's been 5 days without having no power, man. People are panicking. They can't get to the ATM to take money out as if they have money, it can do anything without no way to ring something up. Okay? It's just going to be a lawless society, man. All right? And what does it tell us? Isaiah 65:13. My servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. My servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Amongst all that chaos, we're going to be taken care of. And we solemnly believe that, wholeheartedly believe that. All right? That's why we getting right, man. That's why we keeping the word and patience of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah to the best of our ability. So it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it. Why? Because it will surely come. That home cooked meal. It taking a while, man. You want to rush it up. You want to turn the heat up on. No, grandma came in and smacked your hand, told you get off that pot, put it back in there, let them bones, get tender so where the meat can fall right off of it. Hey, and it's going to be well worth it at the end, okay? It says, though it tarry, wait for it. Why? Because it will surely come. Once that meal is cooked, once these prophecies has popped off, it's going to be well worth it to know that you were found faithful and patient, man. It's going to be well worth it, you know? Seeing your enemy fall. Seeing the prophecy that you prophesied about come to pass. Ezekiel 33 and 33. Then shall they know a prophet was amongst them. Ezekiel 33 and 33. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet hath been amongst them, or among them. See? When Habakkuk 2 and 3 comes, they're going to know. Oh, yeah, they was out on that corner, man. Now they ain't out no more. How can we get a hold to them? It's too late, man. You had your time. You had your day in the sun when you should have got the information that's pertinent to your salvation. But instead, you wanted to be a rapper, or you wanted to be some type of, ball player, or some type of this or that, and you didn't have time for the truth, man. So now you all that what you thought you was gonna be, you ain't gonna be. All right? You did all that for nothing. It was all in vain, man. Now you hoping like heck you can run across a man of the Lord to give you some type of information, to tell you what to do. And guess what? How are you gonna find them? The Most High is gonna have them, the men of the Lord, mouth to stick to the tongue of their mouth, to stick to the cleave to the tongue of their the root of their mouth. So you ain't gonna hear the word no more. All right? What is that? Cleave to the root of the mouth. Come on, give me the magnifier. Cleave. This is Ezekiel 3 and 26, and it reads, and I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, that thou shalt be dumb, and shall not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. So see, it's going to come a time where the Most High is going to make our tongue cleave to our mouth, and we're not going to be out there giving no warnings. And we're going to be what? As dumb to you, because why? You ain't gonna get no information out of us, man. We ain't gonna be nowhere to be found, man. It's gonna be it. That's gonna be the family of the word. It says, and shall not be to them a reprover. No more we're gonna tell y'all to repent. All right. See, once all hell breaks loose, that's your final warning. That's it. You don't get no more warnings then. You figure it out on your own. All right. When the lights go out, you figure it out on your own. You get no more reproving from us, man. It says, for they are a rebellious house, right? When you could have got all the reproof that you wanted and needed, you turned your nose up at it, all right? So now guess what? Good luck, okay? So the vision is for an appointed time, and at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it. It will surely come, all right? We here at the end, man. We are here in the end time. It will not tarry. All right. So now that we done said all that, let's go ahead and close out with 1 Peter 5 and 8. All right. This is 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. See, if you being sober and vigilant, then Satan can't get an advantage of you. Because why? You know all the plays, man. All right. You got everything that this devil's going to do through this Bible, man. All right. You know he has but a short time. Revelation 12 and 12. So guess what? You understand that there's nothing that he's not willing to do to get his plan off, because that's just what he has to do. And knowing that, you already know he's getting ready to come down with that great wrath, man, because he knows he has but a short time. All right. And because he's a coward. He's going to blame it on someone else. He won't take credit for what he's going to do. So he set the pretense to blame it on Iran, the coward that he is, you see. But we already know all this, man. All right? We know everything, man. Because why? We have an unction from the Holy Spirit, man. All right? We see all of this. All right? What is that? 1 John? This is 1 John 2 and 20. It says, but ye have an unction from the Holy One, and ye know all things. See? The Holy Spirit puts us up on game, man. All right? He imparts his wisdom and knowledge on men that teaches other men to know the things that's coming down the pipe. Okay? So through the learnings that we have learned from the elders, the apostles, we know exactly what to expect. Okay? We know that the mark of the beast has to be made mandatory first, and then the end will come. Well, guess what? They're getting ready to set the stage to bring forth and bring in the mark of the beast so that World War III can pop off to the extent where missiles come to destroy America and we get delivered. If our names be found written in the book of life, which are the elect. All right? So we got to stay locked in, man. All right? And if you're not sober and vigilant, you can't be locked into the truth. 1 Peter 5 and 8. Be sober, be vigilant. Why? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. He's going to get a lot of people. He's going to let them, he may even let them celebrate the 4th of July before he turned the lights off, man. Okay? Here's your fireworks. And then I'm going to show you my fireworks. Okay? The next day, you're going to wake up with a big surprise. No internet, no power in your house, no anything. All right? So just get ready, man. Stay on point. All right? Be sober, be vigilant. Okay? Make it, as it says in, what is that, 2nd Ezra 16? Make thyself ready for the battle. 2nd Ezra 16 and 40 or 48 or somewhere right around there. Make thyself ready for the battle. You got to get ready, man. The battle is getting ready to come to your front door, man. If you ain't ready, it's going to show in that day. All right? So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We almost home. Shalom. Peace.